Hi then guys, welcome to another video. Now this video here I'm going to do, I spoke about I was going to start a little bit on navigation and just the basics of it. The thing I want to talk about now is things you'd get ready before you even went out on the ground and actually started the navigation training and the map reading and the compass stuff. So the first one I'm going to talk about in this video is these. These are pacing beads. I know the Americans call them ranger beads, so you might sometimes find them. They're exactly the same thing. All these are for is so you don't get confused and start getting it muddled up in your head as how many paces you've done. Now the paces become apparent in another video I'm going to do later on in a couple of days time on how to actually get your paces. Now in the military it gets drummed into you from day one when you're doing map reading and any type of navigation. Is bearing and paces, and if you stick to these you cannot go far wrong. So that's the way I'm going to approach these next few lessons, teaching you the basics, and if you can do the basics well, the advanced stuff will come when you get the more knowledge and the better skill. So like I said, the first one I'm going to talk about is pacing beads. Now the reason we wear these, we normally have them if you're in the military, you'll have them on your webbing. You can have them attached to your belt. You can just have them on your day sack. I still use these now if I'm going out, especially when I'm teaching the little ones. I will make sure I've got these and I'll teach them how to use it, because my memory is horrendous and I will forget how many paces I've done. Now the way they work, and it's very simple. I'm going to go on in a minute and show you how to actually make these, but the way they work, a simple bit of paracord here with some beads on it. In the bottom half here, screws fingers, I haven't actually got anything to point with. You've got 9 beads at the bottom, and at the top we've got 4 beads. Bring it in a bit closer, you can see the 9 at the bottom and the 4 at the top. So what we do then while we're doing this, I actually come a little bit closer, it'll be easier to show you. So the way it works then, move that up. So the way the pacing beads work then, so the 9 at the bottom, they indicate when we've actually done 100 meters at a time. So each bead is 100 meters. Now that'll become more apparent when we actually go into how we get our paces, how many paces we walk for 100 meters. Each of the ones at top, they indicate when we've hit 1,000 meters or 1 kilometer. So the way it works is then, like I said, these will be dangling down. So thinking of the 9 at the bottom, as we're walking along and we get to our first 100 meters. Now to make sure we know we're at 100 meters, all we do is slide the bottom bead down to the bottom. So as you can see now, 1 bead at the bottom, 8 beads at the top. And we'll keep doing that, 200 meters, 300 meters, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when we get to our last one, so we're going up, we've now done 800 meters, get up to 900 meters, we've got no more at the top. So the next one is going to be 1,000 meters. As soon as we get to 1,000 meters, and all these are at the bottom, our first one of the top beads comes down. So that would mean at that point, we have hit 1,000 meters, 1 kilometer. Once we've hit that, and our top bead has come down, we bring the bottom beads all the way back up to the top again. And that is us again set to do our second kilometer or a second 1,000 meters. We do exactly the same again. Once we've done 900 meters and we finished our 1,000th meter, coming up to our next kilometer, the second one comes down. Bring them back up. We've now done 2K, 2,000 meters. Now as you can see, once it gets to the top, we would have done, in this situation, we would have done 400 meters. These have come to all the way to the bottom. So we've done 400 meters at the top, and we've got 9 at the bottom. So we've done 4,900 meters, 4.9K. Once we get into the end of that, we're then getting to 5K. Now, if you have to navigate 5K and above without getting your next bearing, to be honest, there's something seriously going wrong. Because if you're walking 5K without taking your next bearing and starting again at your next lot of beads, then there's something seriously wrong. You want to think about your navigation. And again, we'll talk about that later on. But it's just a quick video to explain how pacing beads work. So once we take our next bearing, we would then start off our paces all over again. So you may only use 3 of these to do 300 meters before you take your next bearing. Once you've got your next bearing, push them back up to the start again. All the beads are at the top, and we start all over again. That, guys, is how we use pacing beads. Very, very simple, no dark art about it. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to actually make the pacing beads themselves. It's very, very simple and literally will cost you pence. See you in a minute. And then, guys, like I said, what we're going to go through now is actually how we make the pacer beads themselves in. So we need a few things before we start. First thing we need is our paracord. This here, I kept it nice and light so you can actually see what I'm doing. That's 2.5 feet of paracord there. A pair of scissors to cut the paracord. A lighter for melting the ends in a minute. We need our beads that we're going to use. You can also use other types of beads, and there are other ways of making pacer beads. These ones here are just little tiny grenades if you want to make them look fancy. And obviously here we've got a set that I demonstrated earlier. So we're not going to use the fancy ones this time, but it's just to show you that you can. I am actually going to do another video within the next couple of days, and it's a different form and an even cheaper version of pacer beads that you can make just purely out of paracord. And that'll be one of the other ones I put up just as more of an interest one itself. So the first way we start then, we've already measured out a paracord, and this time we don't melt the ends. We make sure the ends are still kept open like so, and we're going to gut them. What I mean by that is I'm literally going to pull all the strands out. Now we don't want to chuck these away. We've got them here. We don't want to chuck them away. We just stick them down on one side because we're going to use one of them in a minute, and that'll become more apparent in a second. So we can get rid of our tape measure. We've already measured it out. And the scissors, we don't need them for now either. So our beads then. Now we can get them now, but in previous experience, if you start laying them out now and you still got other bits and pieces to do, chances are they're going to fly all over the place. So just keep them in their packet for now, and we'll measure them and we'll count them out in a minute when we actually need them themselves. So at the end of here, what we have actually got is it open. And we don't want to keep that open, so we're going to melt the ends. Doesn't take a lot. Now for this, they don't need to be particularly pointed at the end. They're not actually going to go for anything. All we're doing is to make sure we don't get loads of rubbish down the ends. So we're going to get it like so, bend in half, and from here, take the two ends, and you're just going to make a very simple overhand knot. Get it as far to the end as you can. Pull the ends through, tighten it up. So you've got a very simple overhand knot at the end there. Next one, we can measure out our beads. Now we need 9 for the bottom lot, we need 4 for the top lot. Nine for the bottom, and 2 for the top. Now we can actually start making them. So from here then, this is where we take our one strand. Put the strand through the end and just pull it so the two ends are together like so. And this is how we're going to make our pacer beads. So the first lot we're going to go for then is the bottom lot, which is the 9. So we take the end of our inner strings And all we literally do is feed one of the beads on. The reason we use a cord is because it pulls it nice and tight together, and pull that all the way to the end. It is as simple as that. I'm going to do that with the next 8. Just keep feeding them through. Making sure each time they go down, you straighten out your paracord. Make sure they're sitting properly at the end each time. You haven't got any little bits in between, so it'll just make it harder in a bit. There we go. So that's 6 on there now. 3 more. Can be a bit fiddly, especially the older you get and your eyesight starts going. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more. And there's our first 9. So what we do now is we just think about a reasonable gap that we want down the bottom. So if we pull them all up together, like so, that's probably about a reasonable gap. So this is where we're going to put our first knot. All we need again is a simple overhand knot. Take our little string out, take it through and put ourselves in, work it down, get down a bit further. There we've got a knot. That's probably a little bit too far. So if you find that, all you got to do is loosen it off. Pull a little bit through. And tighten it back up again. That's more like it. Now we've got a second gap. We're going to do exactly the same again. Thread the small one through, the thin one. Take it to the ends. And again, all you're going to do is bring them right down to the bottom. Make sure you loosen it off so that they come down together. Line them all up. Okay, it might be a bit easier. As you can see, they start getting a little bit frayed once you've been doing it for a little while. One more to go. And there we go. There's all the beads that we need on there done. So we can take string out the end, just lay that to one side. And from here again, push these beads up, so we're looking at an area where we're going to notice when they're getting moved. Another overhand knot. Just there. And this loop here will be the loop that once you've got it on your kit, you put it through and you will actually loop it onto your kit itself. That's why we leave the loop at the top. So there we have it, guys. 9 at the bottom, 4 at the top, able to move nice and freely. 1 times pace of beads.